Toki Tori Ultimate Edition.
Toki Tori is a very well-made puzzle platforming game, and this Ultimate Edition is an updated upgrade to an already very fun Game Boy Color game. It is made by Two Tribes, a small Dutch development team of 2 developers who coded it in Game Boy assembly. The hand-coded game results in some pretty impressive graphical feats for the Game Boy Color hardware, with large scrolling levels and water transparency. It feels like a very tight modern Game Boy Color game because, in fact, the original Toki Tori was one of the last official Nintendo releases for the Game Boy Color. This updated version was made for the Chromatic, but works in anything that can play Game Boy Color, and it has faster movement and auto jump and the removal of a timer mechanic, resulting in some pleasant quality of life improvements. You play a flightless bird who traverses a series of ladders and puzzles to collect all of the captured eggs on the level. You start each level with a strategic amount of items that you can use to freeze enemies, teleport yourself, build a small bridge, and lift and move bricks. There are a total of 60 levels across 4 different worlds. This is a puzzle game where you are given the bare minimum amount of tools that you need to make progression through the levels, and you have to give it a lot of thoughts to solve each level. It can take a while to come up with the best solution, and this is one of those games that makes you feel very, very smart when you use your noodle and big old brain to solve all the puzzles. Death and failure comes quickly. However, each level starts relatively short, and each stage gets longer and more complex. You are introduced to new tools and techniques with a very pleasant level of progression. As the levels get more difficult, you need to take different approaches to them and also take notes, mental or otherwise. Often, you need to make multiple tracks through the level and solve different things at different times in different orders. It is clearly influenced by strategic puzzle platforming games such as Lemmings, The Adventures of Lolo, but probably the game that influenced it the most is Toki Doki Penguin Land, which goes all the way back to the Sega SG-1000, the Master System, and later the Game Boy. Another bird game that comes to mind is Binary Land, another strategic game involving birds. The animation is quite good, as are the sound effects and the music. This is a deliciously retro game that very much feels like a lost classic game that you're discovering for the first time.
It absolutely feels like something that could have been made in the late 1980s and would be a very appropriate game to enjoy on the Game Boy Color.